I'm Sarah Kloss. This is Adeline. This is Kieran.
And I'm Mike Kloss.
And our story, or Kieran's story, began in the spring of 2014. She was having headaches, and we brought her into the local doctor, or her pediatrician, and multiple visits. She actually went on medication for migraines. She was being treated for that. And then I want to say it was about August of 2014. She started with arm pain, where she was waking up in the middle of the night, crying, screaming because her arm hurt so bad. She'd wake up in the morning and it hurt. We give her Tylenol, ibuprofen, whatever we could do. It didn't seem to help. Brought her in again. She was actually misdiagnosed with growing pains at one point. And after a few more visits and some pushing by us, we finally had MRI scheduled in St. Cloud. And that was September 19th of 2014. I remember that day like it was yesterday. She actually had an MRI. We asked when we would get the results. We were told it'll be about 4 or 5 days. We left the hospital. We were about 10 minutes on our way home and got a call that they found a tumor in her upper spine. And that was a Friday at 4 o'clock, so that made the weekend quite interesting, to say the least. A lot of phone calls, a lot of family, a lot of people came over to visit because we didn't know anything. We didn't know what was going on. Finally got an appointment scheduled that Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe, at the U of M. They did another MRI, found another tumor in her lower spine. And I think the beginning, initially, if I remember right, the treatment plan was surgery, right, from the get-go. They were hoping that they would be able, the bottom one they weren't really going to try to do anything with right away, but the top one they were confident that they would hopefully be able to do a resection. So that was scheduled shortly after. Met with the doctors prior, said it was going to be about a 5 to 6 hour surgery. A bunch of us, well, obviously we were down there. A bunch of our family was down there. They went in, took her back for surgery, and about an hour and a half later, the surgeon came out, looked about as white as a ghost, and said there were some complications. They had her hooked up to machines, just making sure that, checking for paralysis, and it showed that she was temporarily paralyzed on her right side. And so they didn't know what happened. They didn't know if she had a stroke. They really didn't know. So they put her in an MRI right away just to make sure, kept her sedated just to make sure that it wasn't a stroke. It wasn't a stroke. After the biopsy came back, they realized that her spinal cord tissue was actually ingrown in the tumor. And when they hit it, that's what happened. So that's where it all got real, I guess. She couldn't walk for, well, the whole time at the hospital. They did physical therapy. We were there about a week. She couldn't walk the whole time without any assistance. It took her about 2 weeks to start walking again. She was right-handed when this all started. She's now left-handed. But yeah, her right side it's weaker. She walks the limp. Her right hand she doesn't use it much. She's supposed to wear a brace, but we get her to wear that as much as possible. So after the failed surgery, then it was radiation was the next option. So she had 25 rounds of radiation, 5 weeks, 5 days a week, down at the U of M Children's Hospital. After that, she started her first chemo. And she was on that one, it was about 3 or 4 months. And we noticed that her face was starting to twitch. And once again, they wanted to double check. They didn't know if it was, mini strokes or what was going on. Seizures, they weren't really sure. She had another MRI, and that's when they found the first lesion in her brain. And it was real close to her facial nerve, and that's what was causing the issue. Then after that, she had one more surgery on her spine because she was getting weaker on her right side and more unstable on her feet. She was falling and tripping a lot. So they went and they relieved some pressure in her spine, took out part of her, actually I'm not sure what it was that they took out, but
Part of the vertebrae.
yeah. So that basically the tumor had somewhere to go, the one on the top. The chemo that she was on at that time wasn't really doing anything as far as shrinking the tumors, but they also weren't growing, so they considered that a success, that they weren't spreading too fast or too rapidly. But then about another year, it's hard, they all kind of meld together. She has MRIs every 3 months, but it started to grow again. And then they also found 2 more lesions in her brain. So she currently has 3 tumors in her brain and 2 in her spine. And she had the opportunity to get on a study, which was 3 different chemos. And we had to go to the U of M every 3 weeks. We were there for 6 days. We would drive back and forth every day, him and I. Just kind of took turns with work, taking work off so that we could do it. And that was a really rough patch for her. The chemo made her really sick, and she lost her hair, which was probably the hardest thing for her for, at the time, 7-year-old girl. When she lost her hair, her teacher made a bandana day at school, so that was pretty cool. So her first day back, when she was bald, all the kids wore bandanas, sorry. So that was pretty cool. She has astrocytoma, tumors in her, well, that's what's in her spine. They've never biopsied her brain. They're just assuming it's the same thing, and actually they've never biopsied the one in the bottom of her spine either. But they're just, the assumption is that it's all the same tumor because they're all reacting the same to the drugs. But now they found a new chemo for her, which is working. Everything's stable, has been stable for a year. Very easy for her to take. It's just a pill that gets dissolved in water every night before she goes to bed. Very few side effects. I mean, she gets nausea. It's kind of weird. It's almost like clockwork every 3 to 4 weeks for a day. It's just strange. And other than that, she's, well, now it's summer, but she'll be back to school. And her last MRI was in July and was still stable. And so they decided to go 6 months before her next MRI. So that's the longest we'll ever have gone in between scans, but at this point it's stable, so that's a good thing.